So you guard your mouth, so that means you don't gossip. You guard your ears, so you don't engage gossip. That's it. Those are the two rules of thumb. And then you guard your heart. What do we say, family? Welcome to Simplexity podcast, where we take seemingly complex matters and attempt to make them plain and simple. My name is Sammy Foster, joined with the one and only Boots.
Try not to look at you today.
That would be weird.
Try not to.
That would be very weird. You know, one thing that we should consider is having snacks.
No.
No.
Why?
Not.
Why?
I got some funny comments about on the Vanity episode of you eating the donut while we're sitting there talking about it.
What?
That's so funny.
We're just having a conversation. Why can't I have a...
Because it was the context. It was the context of like healthy choices and taking care of yourself. And you were saying you're going to do a new thing.
New thing.
And that's like, yeah. Home donut.
I hear you. You know who's been my recent workout accountability partner?
Oh, who?
Lucia.
Oh.
Shout out to Seabird. Lucia has been getting me up at 5 a.m. every day.
Whoa.
She drives to the gym. Therefore, it's a little unsafe. She drives to the gym. And so all I have to think about is getting dressed and getting in the car.
Wow.
And by the time I'm there, she has a little banana for me, as a little pregame. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Quite the daughter.
Yeah.
Quite the daughter.
She's like your coach.
She
Yeah,
is.
she is.
And she's no nonsense. When she gets to the gym, you go to the
She's
Y,
not.
she turns it on. It's game on.
Do you guys do your own thing or do you?
Totes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Lucia is getting ready. She's preparing to run a half marathon.
Wow.
So she'll go to the gym and she will run 7 miles.
Whoa. Wow.
Incredible.
That is.
And a beautiful stride. I watched her the other day. I thought, girl, your gait is incredible. I mean, back straight, running at about a 6.5, a 7. I'm doing the dang thing.
Dang.
I'm over there doing like Richard Simmons. God rest his soul.
You don't want to see me run.
No?
No.
No, it's not. It's not a good look, huh?
It's not very good. No, it really accentuates my scoliosis.
Do you have scoliosis?
I do.
I did not know that.
I did not know that.
Actually, I was trying to come up with fun facts when we did the little about the post or about the host post.
Oh, yeah.
And I asked Hannah for her input because I can't come up with that kind of stuff. And one of the suggestions she had was, has scoliosis? ? And I was like,
You know what? I got this one on my own.
no. She did come up with the other ones that were good.
Okay.
But I was
you know
like,
what? I should have asked Ruth. Yeah.
What would she say, do you think?
I don't know, but she'd find little niche things that would have been considerably more interesting than I like airplane food and I'm a used clothes kind
I
of
want to
sort.
know what you mean by airplane. Can you explain that?
Yeah.
I love all airplane food. And
Like-
now I understand Southwest you don't get,
But like
obviously.
the meals they actually give you, not like snacks you're taking on.
Oh yeah,
board.
I like the meals.
Oh.
I like the meals that come in the little
Ew.
Which
tin.
is weird because you're a foodie.
I know.
I know, but there, you know why I like it? I figured it out because airplane food is baptized in salt.
It's like salt.
I think you know what? One thing that I like about airplane food, no matter what the little compartment is, because you get a little brownie, you get a little fruit cup, you get a little bread, a little butter, could be a little chicken cordon bleu.
Or ravioli.
Or ravioli. Here's the thing. It all tastes exactly the same.
It's true.
Doesn't matter.
Why does
The
chicken taste
dessert
like
tastes
ravioli?
just like the chicken and vice versa. I love it. Got a little juice box.
Yeah. Can I get some gravy for my brownie?
Weird.
Yeah. So I love airplane food. There you have it.
What did you mean by the life coach? That one interested me a little bit. I was like, he's going to retire?
Yeah, right.
And I was like, uh-oh,
yeah, you're not getting rid of me yet.
not
Not
ready
yet.
for that.
Not yet. I really want to. I've really been as of late. I've really taken a look at. I feel like, and I said this recently. I don't know if it was on Simplexity or if it was me preaching.
Or maybe another podcast you host.
One or the other. I wouldn't dare cheat on you. But I have. The older that I get, and Boots, let me speak to our listeners and viewers about this. This is something that I've realized that is really amazing, and I think it's a God thing, but it's really an illuminating thing. Over the course of this past year, I have, starting in the fall of 2023 to present, I have had a coach. Just a leadership coach, a spiritual mentor, if you will, a guy that I met at a conference that then I inquired of that has a coaching business, and he's been such a gem, a gift from God, and his wheelhouse is that he knows leaders enough to know I'm going to ask the questions that most aren't asking. And I'm going to find the areas that either need surfacing so that I can really propel you in either the things that you want to grow in, or that you want to see come to fruition, or the dreams that God's placed on your heart, or even, hey, spiritual disciplines, or even he has full license to rebuke me, reprove me, pull on the sweater string in any area of my life. I've given him carte blanche. You go after it. I want to be better next year than I was this year. And so we address all matters: physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, maritally, whole 9 yards. It's been really rich. That said, the older you get, the more you come to realize that your life really does have a vein or theme that's so congruent and consistent with the way God wired you and the passions that he's placed in you. That said, you start to realize, he calls it the convergence. So he talks about the life arc, and nobody wants to hear about this, but
I'm interested.
He talks about these various stages of life that you realize in even your adolescence, your teen years, when you come to meet Jesus, your spiritual enlightenment of where, like, wait a minute, you place faith in Christ and you start to walk in it, and then you start to walk in a season of sanctification. That season doesn't end, but there's this coalescing that begins to happen in all of these arcs. But essentially, as you near sort of the latter years of your life, not that I'm there, I know, it sounds
Certainly
a little dark. Where's he going?
Yeah. He's on the decline?
Right. You start to converge where all the elements coalesce and they begin to sort of crystallize in, this has always been your drumbeat. This has always been a passion point. This is how you see your world, those around you. This is how you treat relationships. This is what your priorities and values are. And you may not identify them at first glance or at face value, but the older that you get, they're all in there. It many times takes somebody to spotlight them for you.
And this person has crystallized that for you.
Very much so. And so for me, before it sounds very sort of esoteric and lofty, for me, it's very simple. I'm a minimalist. I love simplicity. I love seeing people get free. I love seeing people identify the things, the shortcomings, the Achilles heels, if you will, the schemes of the enemy that then lends itself to their awareness of it can help them overcome it. And so I say all that to say, much of what I've been writing lately about minding your business, that portion of scripture out of 1 Thessalonians, all of this is very converging for me. It's very this is essentially, it becomes sort of like your life manifesto. That sounds really, really grand. But I believe, and then I'm going to shut up, I believe everybody listening has a life manifesto, a passion point, a drum beat, the way God has fearfully, wonderfully created us, wired us, the values that he's placed in us, the way we see things, that is his way of building this beautiful tapestry he calls his body, the body, all joints and ligaments woven together. I believe everybody, it serves us so well to hear and see, identify this manifesto, and then allow God to use it. That's it. That's it. I'm done.
You can't say all of that.
Sign up for my course for $19.99, 3
Yeah.
installments.
Use promo code SammyCoach right now.
There's going to be a QR code that pops up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No, I've been thinking about that, not that specifically, but kind of related to that in the context of what if God takes that like life manifesto, if
Yeah.
you will, or the convergence point of our lives, and that somehow translates into what we're doing throughout eternity.
wow.
Like, you know how we did that heaven episode of like,
Absolutely.
okay, we're going to be working, we're going to have roles in some form or fashion. We don't
Yeah.
know what it's going to look like exactly, but I've been dreaming and imagining it. And I was thinking, like, you know, I'm kind of known for doing like impressions of people.
Yeah.
And this is a really weird thought. I'm sorry, but you kind of teed me up. Not really, but I'm
Go
gonna
with
blame
it.
you.
Go with it. I'm
like,
interested.
I was like, what if?
Oh boy.
You're like,
Hold
you're
on,
like
everybody.
Heaven's like the jester
Well,
in the courtroom.
you
That
know,
would be incredible.
I wasn't going quite that direction. Well, I have thought about that.
Like you,
But
like you do
a-
impersonations in front of God.
Ready?
Oh.
A shape-shifting jester.
Well, if you make it to the big time to where you're like in the throne room, then I'm gonna be like, I knew that guy. That was my boy.
Yeah. No, you're gonna be one of the 12 elders on the.
Stop. Stop.
But it would be cool to be a jester in heaven's courtroom.
That would be incredible.
Yeah.
A jester is a joker, right?
Yeah.
Just making
But the funny
sure.
here,
Yes.
but
I
it's
could
funny.
see you in that hat.
Here's the thing. I've done a little bit of research on jesters. I'm sorry, we're way
Yeah,
off.
we're way off
We
the
will.
topic
This is
today.
not going to be.
I
This is not a long one anyway, so we're good. But jesters were actually apparently pretty intelligent to be able to use humor, you know, tactfully with the king, and also they were one of the few people. Now the analogy falls short here because I would not be challenging and/or rebuking God, but
Sure.
in the olden days, the jester was one of the few people who could critique the king because he would do so with humor. And it's been described as using like a rubber sword. It doesn't draw blood, but
Yeah.
you know, you
But it
can,
could
you
sting
can
a little
point
bit.
things out. And I feel like I do that somewhat to a degree. Like,
Yes, you do.
You can use humor to point things out or inconsistencies within people or whatnot. That it gets the point across, but it doesn't elicit the same reaction of like a straight up challenge per se.
Certainly. I think that's why, you know, you and I have had this conversation around comedians. Comedians are some of the most intelligent, sort of, their social IQ is so high. That's why they're so funny. They speak to the matters that, or nuances that people would not be able to articulate why that's funny or why that's comedic, but you got to have high social IQ.
And it's why often you'll see comedians transition to like movies, or they'll be actors
Absolutely.
in various forms because due to their social intelligence or emotional intelligence,
Right.
they can translate that into, oh, this is what the actor would or the character would be feeling right now, and they have the ability to express it.
Step into it.
Yep.
At the same time, this is why so many comedians struggle with depression. Because, and I know I just broad brushed there, but actually studies have shown when you have high social intelligence or emotional intelligence, you are then typically that's rooted in a temperament of a melancholy. So melancholies are the smart ones. Just so happens, Connor,
So you know.
I happen to be a.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then they give way to the tipping point that then sends them into a downward spiral after they bring everybody up on an upward spiral.
Yep.
Anyway, I digress.
We should do an episode on temperaments one time.
Ooh. What are the 4?
I thought there were 5.
Ooh.
Because
Can
supine
we
was
fact check that?
supine was added
You are right.
later,
Actually,
though. So-
you are right.
What is it?
Supine.
supine. I never know how to
It's
pronounce it.
phlegmatics, cholerics, melancholies, sanguines, supines. That would be very interesting.
Yeah.
Have you ever taken a temperament analysis test?
Oh yeah, like that was one of my bonding points with your dad.
Oh,
Was you never heard this?
no.
Oh my gosh. All right, I'll just tell this real quick.
Oh my
15 minutes in. Yeah, I started to get really into it because your dad, for anyone who doesn't know, he was heavily bought into the temperament
Yes, he was.
stuff, and he used that pretty strongly in his counseling with
Yes, he
people.
did.
And so yeah, he actually let me borrow his textbook. It was called Creation Therapy, I think.
Yes, I think you're right.
And it went through all the different temperaments and like struggles that people have and how their temperament goes into those struggles and how you can speak biblical truth into them, all that kind of stuff. It was super cool. And it had like all his notes. And it was funny, like he would have written in certain sections like, "This is my boy Jack."
Yeah.
And like it was just really
I can
endearing
see
to
him now.
wonderful penmanship.
Yeah,
had.
he did have great penmanship. Surprising. 6th grade education.
Yeah. Where was I going with that? Oh. So he let me borrow this whole thing. I worked through it, figured out more about myself, and at one point, I ran into him because I was off at Liberty at this time.
Okay.
And I ran into him at a service here at church, and he was like, "Hey, you still got my book?" And I was like, I said, "Yeah, you want it back?" And he was like, "Yeah, I want it back."
Totally.
And then he said, "Well, are you finished with it yet?" I said, "No, not quite." And he's like, "Okay, we'll finish with it, but I do want it back, though." And I eventually gave it back to your mom.
Huh.
But
Hey, you've taken a lot of books, haven't you?
Yeah, there's a theme here.
There's a theme here.
Yeah.
Took my Bible.
holding on to that one, are we?
Old sticky fingers, huh? A little thieving.
Yeah.
All right.
The Foster collection, I'm just selling it all on eBay.
Here.
Okay, yeah,
You
let's
find
get
it
into
on
it.
eBay.
Please.
Today we're talking about gossip very briefly.
Briefly.
Yeah.
Well, that's because we're nearing the end of the episode.
But this was a short that I did on Instagram.
A wonderful one too, Bob.
Thank you very much. And so we're really not going to reinvent the wheel as to the outline of what I went through in that, but maybe just go a little bit deeper on certain portions and definitely get your take on aspects of it. But I was looking up the prevalence of gossip in my research of this topic. And did you know that in the workplace, 65 to 90% of workplace conversations could quantify as gossip or qualify as
Wow.
gossip?
Wow.
Man.
Additionally, the
I know
average
that's true here at Lighthouse.
Oh my gosh.
JK. Just when Boots is in the conversation. Go
Connor was so weird the other day. Did you see what he was doing?
You see what he was wearing?
Oh my gosh, it was ridiculous. We're kidding, because Connor's right here. The average person gossips for about 52 minutes a day.
Whoa.
Wow.
Does that ring true to you, do you think? I mean, not like you personally, but could you see that? Do you gossip 52 minutes a day? Okay.
That does. I would not have any refute
Yeah.
with any of that in my experience.
Because when I think about like the workplace, and it seems like a pretty high percentage,
Yeah.
but I was thinking about so much of work conversations oftentimes
Yeah.
can be a complaint about how someone handled something. You know what I mean? Where it's
Absolutely.
like, let's just say in our context at the church, where it's like, man, we kind of rushed this project or whatever. Like so and so should have said something about this earlier, or whatever it might
Sure.
be. You can see how that line very quickly blurs from like I'm complaining about how something went to I'm complaining about a person, and now I'm critiquing their character, essentially.
Absolutely.
So you could, if that's something that happens here sometimes,
Sure.
you could definitely see that happening in the secular workplace.
Absolutely. And I don't, it is a really fine line in some, all the more in professional environments. Professional environments, create space and place for conversation that typically surrounds, production, job quality, objectives at hand, all of that, of which people are involved in, It'd be one thing if everything was, being produced by nothing more than machines, then you could,
We're getting there.
quickly. Nevertheless, you are constantly talking through either meeting or falling short of standards of which people are spearheading or they're responsible for. And so it would be very hard. It is very hard. It is very hard to offer critique and or constructive criticism and not slip into it sounding like a complaint and or gossip. And so there has to be, all that being that's the fertile soil and the very common soil that we're working through, one must start with a weighty precedent and understanding of the egregious nature of gossip, which I feel most people don't. Most people care less.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna run my mouth. I'm gonna share my opinion. I'm gonna offer my critique. I'm gonna rake them through the mud and keep on trucking. So, because there's no degree of value system internally that would cause them to go, I can't. But what's interesting is I do believe, let's take non-believers as our example or as our case study. When you first arrive at a workplace, I don't care if you're working at Ace Hardware or you're working for Apple. I don't care if you're in blue collar or if you're in corporate America.
I know where you're going, I think.
Where?
Nope.
Come on, try me. I want to see. Do you know where I'm going? Where am I going?
Are you bluffing? I think you want to get the lay of the land, and so information is valuable, and so people want to communicate themselves as having the information or the scoop on their fellow coworkers. Here's the skinny of the workplace.
Not even close. Wow. No. Hey. Actually, I'm just JK. There's veins of that in what I'm going to say.
Okay.
What I was going to say was much more simple than that, and that is when you first arrive at a workplace. Let's take your first day on the job, your first week on the job, your first few weeks. You sit in the cut. You're not gossiping about anybody.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not running your mouth about any fellow employee, coworker, or the like. You're sitting in the cut. Now, what you are doing is very much what you said. You're surveying the land. You're getting a read on who's who in the zoo, yada, yada, yada. But you know enough to know I can't be running my mouth about people. I haven't earned the equity to do that yet. So what that tells me is people do have intrinsically a governor that tells them gossip is bad.
Yeah.
Gossip does not win me equity if I use it prematurely. I got to wait my turn, or I got to wait until I have something to draw from.
Yeah.
That tells me people know talking about other people, you got to be a really callous, cold individual to step into a work environment and in your first week, you're running your mouth about people. I mean, you are far too comfortable in your skin. But most people know I don't have the right to do that yet. That's a telltale that emotion.
I've got to earn it.
Yes.
I've got to get to know these people, form relationships, and then destroy them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like Survivor. I got to figure out who my people are so that I
Build
know
some
who to
alliances
complain
and
to.
then
Right. Because we know, here it is, here's the big rock, that gossip hurts. It really, and Scripture is chock full of clear principles about the detriment of gossip.
yeah.
I want to read you one to
Please.
begin with. I read this last night in preparing for.
Yeah. I'm not going to guess what it is because
Yeah, please don't.
we all know
Gossip
that
about
I'm
you later.
wrong.
You're bad. 3 strikeouts. Proverbs 18:8 says this: rumors are dainty morsels that sink deep into one's heart.
Ooh.
So
That speaks to the irresistibility of it.
yes, it does. And it also speaks to the weight and the power of it. It goes deep. Solomon said it goes deep into one's heart. To listen to little rumors, it shades perspectives. It colors, how you see people. It sinks down in there and you can't get it back.
Yeah.
Rumors are dainty morsels. What's dainty?
I'm picturing like little snacks.
Little snacks, little small.
Yeah.
And they get down in the couch cushions, and you don't even know it until you have a feel towards someone, a perspective of someone, and this is what gossip creates. So here's my rule of thumb before I sound like I don't typically like talking about someone because I got a lot of opinions on someone's.
Yeah.
But
we know.
But I like telling to someone. And if I tell you, then I'm going to tell others what I told you.
Okay.
That's a little bit of so when you're real candid and you're real fluid in this is I'm not actually, God forbid I sound like I'm badging myself. I'm just speaking to my struggle. I'm going to tell you about Sammy's struggle bus. I feel a real liberty to, hey, if I see something, I'm going to point it out. And because I don't at times have guile or ill feelings, I give myself license to say something about someone according to either the standard, what they're doing, how they're doing something that many times can be gossipy. So I gotta stop. I gotta catch that. That is my struggle. Do you have a struggle in that regard? And if you do, where is it? Because some people they talk about other people to win the affection of other people.
Yeah.
That's not my plight. My plight is I just got loose lips and they sink ships.
Your struggle is you just care too much about people. You got to tell them what you see.
I work too hard.
Care too much.
Right.
Work too hard. I would say my struggle falls more so in a different motivation, I think, because I would classify most gossip in one or two motivations. One is you want to be valuable to someone else by having, the social insight or whatever.
tea.
You have the tea.
Yes.
Because people are drawn to it and you're the source of it. There's a whole Office episode about this where Michael Scott, oh man, it's hilarious. He's like creating rumors because he feels left out of the
Yes.
social situation, so he wants to learn gossip and then spread it. And there's this one part where, if you don't watch The Office, I apologize, but he's like he learns this devastating fact about one of his coworkers, and he's like, Jim, did you hear about Stanley? And Jim's like, yeah, you told me. And you should probably stop talking to other people because you're probably ruining his life. And he's like, it doesn't resonate with him.
Yeah.
He's just like so enthralled with the attention that he's getting.
Yes.
He doesn't care about the impact that it's having on the other people. That was a weird way to set up an answer to your question. I don't feel like I lean toward that mentality. It's more so, and this was particularly in like high school, I think.
Yeah.
I would partake in gossip when it made others look bad because that made me feel better about myself. So like, let's say two friends are fighting.
Okay.
And then, I'm the mutual confidant. And it's like, so-and-so is being so annoying, they're whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, man, that's rough. And
Yeah.
it's like, wow, you must think I'm a pretty good friend then. Like, it was this reverse relationship of, if I feed into the gossip, that
Yeah.
enhances their view of me.
My alliance.
Yeah.
Yes.
The survivor alliance gets stronger. Can you really trust Jeffrey? So yeah, I feel like that's more so where I fall, but that's just rooted in insecurity, where it's like I have, in those times I've had an insecure view of self, and so I've needed to drag others down by that means.
Absolutely.
In order to enhance my own self-image. And I feel like probably a lot of people could resonate with that.
100%. One thing I'll say is that I have always appreciated you in that, and I've said this in episodes past, that you are not one. You are not one. Me being super, fluid and at times wrong and cutting, if you will, when I have an opinion about something or speak of someone. You are very caged in that, because you feel the weight of, I don't want to cast anyone in an ill light. I want to be really choice with my words. I deeply respect that about John is the same.
Yeah.
John's not as good as you. John runs his mouth a lot.
No, he does
And
not. I remember.
And truth be told, he talks about you a lot. But that's neither here nor there.
There's probably a lot to talk about there. John, now that you mention him, he said something that's stood out to me for a while in kind of like handling other people gossiping to you.
Yeah.
He was like, whenever somebody does that to me, he said, that's an immediate telltale that I probably can't trust them.
Huh. Yeah.
Because if they're doing that with me, they would probably be inclined to talk about me to someone else.
100%.
And that's challenged the way that I think about a lot of people who, like, if you're gossiping with me about someone else,
Yeah.
you're probably tempted to do that about me with
Without
other
a doubt.
people.
Without a doubt. So here's what I want to do, what I thought would be helpful. I think we need to create, when it comes to this matter of gossip, we're talking about this macro issue that everybody struggles with to some degree or another. No matter your work environment or your family life, school or the like, this is like it's waiting for you. So there's got to be an economy of thought that we establish, that I really believe is the aim of Scripture, because it's so commonplace that if you don't have a value system for, not that we value gossip, but you got to have an economy to scale of what it actually causes. Otherwise, you're left with, it's bad, don't do it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That should be.
Because we know that.
We know that
as Christians. We know that gossip's wrong, and
100%.
yet we still have it in our context, in the church especially, where it's like, I'm going to share a prayer request, but you're really just gossiping about someone.
100%.
Yeah,
Oh,
Connor's really struggling.
Yeah.
It's like, can we please lift him up in prayer?
Yeah.
Like,
Shut up. Right.
yeah, you're just gossiping. Like,
That's it.
so sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
All right, so I want to speak to 3 things that gossip hurts.
Look at this guy.
Pastor,
Okay.
3 things, and I got 3 scriptures.
Ooh.
Go for it.
Hey. But get your checkbook ready, because we're going to take up a tithe and offering when
Yeah.
we're done here. Mike?
Sammy Coach promo code.
All right, first and foremost, gossip hurts the person it's spoken about. It's a given. It's a given. But Proverbs 16:28 says this: a troublemaker plants seeds of strife. Gossip separates the best of friends.
Yeah, that was one of the verses I used in the short.
That's exactly right. Hey, we know this. Gossip at its root, when it's really dark and when it's really found out. When you find out somebody that you were boys with or girls with in Becca's sitch, and you find out that they ran their mouth about you behind their back, I don't care how you cut it. If there's onus, even if there's onus, you address it head on, there's onus. Hey, my bad, I said. there is inevitably a separation. I've sat in meetings of things that were said between two parties where I found myself sort of as the arbiter, not the arbiter,
Mediator.
mediator. The arbiter isn't that a tree cutter downer?
Arbor.
Arbor.
Arborist. I don't know.
I'm not the arbiter.
We know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be an
Gotcha.
arbiter. Can we fact check that?
Arbiter.
Arbiter.
I'm
don't know.
looking.
Where it's separated, and the thing that was said to a person other than the person that it was said about wasn't even that bad. It was the trust factor that it caused. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. That is, I've done it. I've done it. And I've been on the receiving end of it. So it separates. So when it comes to this matter of why should we not, it hurts, separates friendships, but it hurts the one of whom it is spoken about. Number one. You got anything to say about that?
Nope. Other than
I'm sorry?
arborist.
Arborist.
Arborist. That's the mediator.
No, that's the
Wait,
tree
that's
cutter.
No,
the
yeah,
tree
the tree cutter
cutter
downer. What's the arbiter? Arbiter. Arbitrator. Thank you, Connor. That's right. Jesus said, but Jesus said, I'm not the arbiter.
Arbitrator.
He didn't say arbitrator. Now I need to see chapter and verse. Go ahead.
What would you
Beth.
like me to look up?
You know what? Forget it. Who cares? All right. Who am I to be trying to figure out words?
I know.
Of course it's wrong. Go ahead, Boots.
Yeah. No, I didn't really have anything
Okay,
in
good.
response to that. Go
All
ahead.
right. Number 2, gossip hurts the listener. Wrongdoers, this is Proverbs 17. Right in the succession of old Solomon's beating this drum. Wrongdoers eagerly listen to gossip. Liars pay close attention to slander. I mean, if it causes you a lean in, it's not only hurting the one that you're talking about, but it's hurting the listener that you're feeding the sin of, let me lean in and get the tea. It's wrong.
And you're enabling someone else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then lastly, gossip hurts the speaker. When arguing with your neighbor, it's Proverbs 25, when arguing with your neighbor, don't betray another person's secret. Others may accuse you of gossip, and you will never regain your good reputation. Never is a big word. Takes a lifetime to build trust. Takes a moment to lose it.
We both snapped and Mike went.
So, when it comes to this matter of gossip, it hurts the one spoken about, it hurts the one that's speaking about, and it hurts the listener that's hearing about.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of that speaks to, so in the short I talked about, what do you do to kind of govern your own tendency to gossip?
Yes.
And then it was, what do you do when someone's trying to gossip with you?
Yep.
And then it was, how do you respond if you've been the person
Totally.
gossiped about? And so I want to, as we wrap up here, just hone in on those last two things.
Okay.
The first being, how do you respond when someone's trying to engage in gossip with you? And I want to ask you in particular because you're the only one here. Joke didn't land. I want to ask you in particular because you're a very tactful person, I think. And because here's what I've seen before is you have the people who, like, you know, let's say somebody's saying, hey, did you hear about what happened with so-and-so? Like, man, he's in a, and then the other person shuts it down immediately.
Yeah.
But does it awkwardly and kind of self-righteously.
Yes.
To the extent that they go like, I don't feel comfortable talking about this.
Yeah.
So, you know, and maybe I'm wrong and that's the way to handle it, but I feel like there's a better way to shut it down tactfully. What have you ever sensed that tension, and how have you managed it?
Totally. Okay.
Because, one more thing.
Go ahead.
You are a pastor. I'm sure people confide in you a lot with various things.
Yep.
And so I'm sure a fair amount of that is gossip at times.
Yeah. And once again, there's that fine line between gossip and really airing your offense.
Yeah.
Communicating, the hurt that's been caused to you, what somebody did to you. And so it obviously, so my context creates a different perspective.
Yeah.
Many times, all the more be that at times it would be categorically a counseling session.
Sure.
Nevertheless.
Let's set it aside then into more of a social context.
Yep. Nevertheless, I want to create a caveat to what I'm getting ready to say, because some people aren't good with tact. Okay? So I don't like to, I found at times I've done this with Ruth, where I will counsel Ruth on how to approach a social situation, a relationship, and I'll realize Ruth, it's not that Ruth doesn't have tact. God forbid. I would. That's not. It's that Ruth does not like to dance like I dance. Meaning,
I like that.
Ruth is much more straightforward at times. She likes to cut through all the stuff. I'm on the receiving end of that, of which I've become quite the beneficiary of. But it can hit abrupt. Okay. And what I've realized is I'm using Ruth as the example of, I've tried to sort of coach Ruth in tact before, where she's been like, okay, I'll try that. And it feels like she's putting on somebody else's armor, or she's trying to say it in a way that doesn't really bear her heart. And so I've realized I can't project tact on people, although I would encourage everybody to grow tactfully. That means, Boots, that for some people that are in gossiping situations, their go-to can be, and they're right for doing it, hey, I don't want to hear this. I've seen people do that, and you know what? That's all they could do, and that's all they knew to do, and they're right for doing it. Yeah, you bet your bottom dollar it was awkward. But they chose the right over and the untactful way over the sinful way. They're good to go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I've seen people, they don't know how to say it, where it didn't feel so awkward, so they just went, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to be part of it. I sort of like that. La 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 la. Yeah, wah 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 wah. Okay, so I just want to speak to those that I don't want to try to thread a needle here.
Okay.
And figure that out.
The escape hatch is always there.
Yep. Yes. And I'm giving you license. Go ahead and get awkward. Just make it weird.
Yep.
1, 2. What typically makes that awkward is that it makes people feel unsympathized with, or that you lack empathy. Sometimes when people are gossiping, they don't even know they're gossiping. Now, I'm not giving them a hall pass for that, but that means that when I'm in a situation, I go, yo, like if you came up and you're going to run your mouth about so and so. Now that I'm a grown man, and somebody approaches me, I go, yo, did you tell dude this?
Yeah.
Did you approach them? Well, then why don't you man up a little bit and go, because you. And then what I'll do is I'll validate their offense. I see what you're saying, Roger. All right, that would irritate me too. You better tell them that, rather than coming and crying to me and acting like, and then don't get around them and then, play nice, because that's in there. That's how I'll, as if to say, don't put your burden on me when you're the one that's going to carry it out of this conversation. That's just keeping it airy. I like keeping things real airy. I don't like hey brother, do you know that you're gossiping right now? That's just not me. I get some people would do that, and they're right for doing it. Do you understand that you're grieving the Holy Spirit?
Yeah.
They're right for doing that. They are. Me, I'm going to push it back on you and go, you're in the wrong. You got to go tell them. I feel you. You got grounds for your complaint, but the way you're doing it is altogether.
Yep. That's the golden nugget, I think, because we don't like confrontation, and so it's easier to just have that conversation with you instead of addressing the person who caused the offense.
Totally. Now, just to make things clear, I got all the leverage in the world to do that because 99% of the time, I'm talking to believers. So we're both tracking towards the celestial city. You know what I'm going to do? Every episode, I want to weave that in somehow.
My gosh.
We're tracking. So listen.
Yeah.
So my leverage is, hey, we're in this together, partner. You want to be more like Jesus? I want to be more like Jesus. I'm going to put this back on you. When you don't have your value system created by Scripture, and by the fact that I live for the audience of one, it's His approval that I'm after. Then you're left in a corporate workspace. That's real. That's a different context.
Yeah.
You know, you telling somebody, you know, hey, you go talk to them about it. They're going to be like, I don't want to talk to them. That's why I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
And that's their we have a different economy that we live by.
Yeah.
And so the leverage is, hey man, go do right by this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and it does change the context in like the secular workplace or secular friends, whatever. I think it's just you handle it differently, or you're not an active proponent of gossip, or you know
Right.
you don't feed it the same way that someone else would. So there's still strategic ways to handle that probably, but I like the point of, you know, if we're believer to believer, we're on the same trajectory. Let's handle it
Absolutely.
rightly.
So it really comes down to guarding two things. We avoid gossip by guarding two things. You guard your mouth by slow to speak, quick to listen. This is Sammy's life lesson, and I'm
Add it to the manifesto.
and I and I keep failing the grade. I've been like in 10th grade for like 30 years. Okay. But I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
Lord, I'm going to get it. Hey, so you guard your mouth, so that means you don't gossip. You guard your ears, so you don't engage gossip. That's it. Those are the two rules of thumb. And then you guard your heart. But it really boils down to, you didn't get that either, did you, Boots?
What, did you say guard your heart a lot?
No, I don't know why. Anyway, you guard your mouth, you guard your ears.
Okay.
So, and you guard your ears by doing what we just talked about.
Yes.
That's it. I don't have anything else for you, but I would like to turn these mics off and get down to some gossip.
Let's talk about Mike. I got one more thought I wanted to add before we wrap here, but put your tray tables up. No, in the short, I shared a verse from Ecclesiastes, and this is kind of when you hear someone else has gossiped about you. And I don't remember exactly what the verse is, but the paraphrase is, don't pay attention to every single word that people say about you, because if you do, you might overhear that your servant says something negative about you.
Wow.
But then it says, for you in your heart know that many times you've said something about your servant.
Come on. Wow.
And it's just such a dose of reality.
Yes.
It's such a dose of reality
well said.
Oh, you're going to get on your high horse?
Absolutely.
And you're really offended because so-and-so said something about you? How many times have you talked about them?
No doubt.
How many times? Let's think about it.
No doubt.
There's this passage in the Chronicles of Narnia where Lucy, I think it's in Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and she stumbles upon some magic thing, and she uses it to be able to spy on her friend. Her friend Marjorie. And Marjorie's talking with another friend, Anne, about Lucy. And Marjorie says something like, yeah, I was really sick of Lucy by the end of the semester. She's just kind of childish, always talking about Narnia. Like, she's just got to grow up. And Lucy sees that. She sees this gossiping about her in real time because she wanted to see what her friends were up to without her. And it hurts her so deeply. She sees it. And then Aslan, who's the representation of Jesus, critiques Lucy and says, first of all, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have spied on your friend. You shouldn't have been eavesdropping. And then secondly, you need to know that Marjorie was feeling weak in that moment.
Wow.
And Marjorie was afraid of what Anne was going to think about her. So Marjorie was dealing with her own insecurities that led her to say something negative about her friend Lucy that she actually really loves and cares for. But Lucy just saw that. And so we don't know what's going on in other people's heads, or the fear that they're operating in, or the insecurity that they're operating in. All we see sometimes is the outcome.
Yep.
And so with all that being said, don't take it so personally. You've probably done it yourself. But also extend some grace, because you don't know what they're dealing with, or why they said it, or, they didn't mean that. You know they didn't mean that. Let it go.
Couldn't agree more. Amen.
And with that, we're going to have to let you go. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. Check us out on Instagram at Simplexity Podcast, and follow us and leave a review wherever you get your podcast, whether Apple or Spotify.
Love you guys.